Hey, everybody, I have a very, very exciting episode today. Oh my gosh, I'm looking. If you're watching this on the video, you're seeing we got 5 people here. This is Chloe and Eduardo, who just purchased a home. And we also have their unicorn lender, that's Kelly. And then we've got Max, their unicorn realtor. We're going to get you a full experience of what it was like from top to bottom. As always, we're going to start with Chloe and Eduardo, who are you guys, Eduardo's 26 now, but you guys were 25 years old when you bought a home.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to let you know, as we record this today, I'm recording this early November. You just beat the national average. The numbers, the report came out today. First time home buyers for 2025 averaged 40 years old. You guys are 15 years ahead in your adulting. Think about that. Where were you 15 years ago? Freaking 5th grade. This is unreal. Give us your biggest tip so other people out there can be as cool as you guys are.
I would say biggest tip is have a good team around you. I would say overall, this wouldn't have been possible without our lender, our realtors. Like overall, just that's my biggest tip is have the right team to answer the right questions and be available to answer any questions at literally seconds.
Okay, so now I noticed that you guys closed on your home July 21st. So we're recording this in November. Is it a little weird seeing your lending team and your real estate team? Because like for a month, weren't you guys talking like every day?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a reunion. Yeah. It's a tornado of bringing things together. Okay, I'm going to start at the beginning of your story. You guys came to me in May of 2025.
Right.
Chloe sent me a little email. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. What do you think? You guys had $8,000 saved, closed July 21st in 2025. So it was that June, July, like 3 months. That's insane. And because you got down payment assistance program, because you got a 3% conventional loan, and because you got a seller credit, I talked to Kelly earlier, you paid $120.95 at closing.
Yeah, when we went to closing, they actually gave us a check.
Which was your earnest money deposit. You have to put an earnest money deposit down, but you got so many credits that they gave you almost $2,900 of your deposit back. Wow. Chloe, did you ever think that was possible?
I mean, I didn't expect it for sure. I mean, that was pretty crazy, honestly. When we were told that we were actually gonna like not have to bring any money to closing, I mean, we were so like shocked, like because that was one of our biggest like worries was bringing the money to closing, coming up with just for that one day, and like so it was just kind of like crazy.
I think it's very difficult for renters to wrap their brains around because when you go to an apartment, it makes sense. I have a first and a last and a security deposit. That's not changing in any way. But for you guys, you were preparing for a 3% down payment, but then in working with the teams, suddenly you got a 5% credit and almost $5,000 back from the seller as well. So your whole thing was covered. Okay, let's go through your story. Who did you talk to first? Did you talk to Max, your realtor, or Kelly and her team, your lenders?
I think we spoke with Max and Laura first.
And Laura. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had a call with them, and then they got us in contact with Kelly after that.
Max works with his moms, Carol and Laura. And the cool thing is, Max, tell us why it was such a good fit, you working with them. Because, you know, you guys are the same age and something happened with you recently.
Yeah, so we were all 25 at the time when they purchased. And I purchased my first home 2 years ago. So that was a cool thing to go through with people who were fun to work with and fun in general. And we're going through something that I had just kind of figured out. Even though I've been around real estate my entire life, it's totally different being on the other side of the table. Like I've seen my moms have done deals my entire life, but being the one signing the papers was not the same.
Yeah, Max and I talked, and like he was going to real estate seminars when you were what, 10 years old? Is that what you said? 8 years old?
8, yeah, 8.
Yeah. So he was tagging along at real estate seminars, and the information was getting in his head like osmosis. And so, but even still, Max, at 23, you said that it was different. You had trepidation, even though you
Absolutely.
had decades of real estate experience standing right behind you.
Yeah. It almost felt like a stupid risk. Like that, it almost felt like a decision that was outside of my ability, that it was something that I was too young to do, was, reaching too far at my age, and that it was going to backfire on me. That was kind of how I felt walking into it. Today, 2 years later, I'm in a situation where I'm not living at that home, and it's now an income property. So, I mean, and it'll hopefully turn into me purchasing a second and a third, and who knows what's next.
See, Chloe and Eduardo, in May, you reached out to me, and who knows, in 2 years, you can be landlords. Okay, so then, Chloe and Eduardo, tell me when you talked to Kelly in that process of figuring out what you wanted to do, were you just trying to figure out what can we do, or were you like, hey, we want to buy a house this week because you'd been out looking at houses?
We kind of didn't know exactly how it was going to go. We kind of wanted to go over with her just like finances and like whether we were still kind of going back and forth ourselves, whether it was like a good decision right now, to purchase a house or wait another year or two, So we were honestly, like, I'm so shocked it went so quickly because we were at one point we told Kelly that we probably were going to wait a whole nother year because we just kept going back and forth, but it just all worked out.
You'd be shocked how often that happens. And I always tell people that's fine. We've got one of my favorite interviews is, I think it's episode 161. It was Sally. She reached out to me. She was all ready to go. And then she pulled back and she signed a year lease in August. And then in like October, she called me back and she said, I shouldn't have signed the lease. And then she bought a house in a month. So it's like, it's all your own. What were the conversations with Kelly that made you realize or made you more comfortable in moving forward? Can you remember back to that part of the process?
I would say there was one conversation that I had to be honest and say, hey, can we actually afford this house? It was more of a, can I afford this house? And then I just remember Kelly saying, well, for my numbers, you guys can, but you guys handle your your finances, the way you do. But that kind of gave me some confidence because we kind of like frugal, right? We don't like to spend a lot of money. So it's like, our mortgage double. It's kind of double from what we used to pay. So I was like, well, can we actually buy a house? So that kind of like, hey, we've run the numbers, guys, kind of gave me that confidence to it. And I'm so glad. Yeah.
Yeah. As many times as the two of us ran the numbers ourselves, like we're just such frugal people that we were just really hesitant to like give up our low amount of rent to move into something, even though it's been great and it's like better for us. We were very hesitant to like take that step. So
I always try to make sure I explain to people that a home is a forced savings account and that extra money that you have is going into an asset. So Kelly, since you're here, give us kind of what do you do when someone says, wait, can I afford this? Should I do this? Because obviously my frugal versus their frugal could be way different. That's so subjective. So what do you do when a first-time buyer looks at their approval number? How do you talk to them about that?
Well, the first thing I say is just because you can doesn't mean you should. You remember hearing that, you guys? We looked at down payment assistance programs, and the state-sponsored program really was the one that ticked all the boxes and kept their payment in a comfortably uncomfortable place. The other thing we talk about is tax benefits of home ownership. When you're a good earner, we pay a lot of income tax. And when you have no children, you have no deductions until you buy a house. And then all of a sudden you can itemize your deductions. Now, I'm not trying to give tax advice. I even said this. You'd be silly to take tax advice from me because I pay somebody a lot of money to give me tax advice.
Yep.
But mortgage interest and property taxes for most homeowners on their primary residence can be tax deductible if you itemize. So I always encourage people to have that dialogue, educate themselves, invest in a consultation with a tax advisor with one of the worksheets we prepare. What's going to be fun is whatever mentally you think you're going to owe or get in refund is going to be different this year. Because all of those one-time, not all of them, but a lot of those one-time expenses are tax deductible against your earned income. So you're going to be fat city when it comes to income taxes. And that's a dialogue I have is, this is a piece you haven't even thought about yet. It's also an investment, like David said. It's a forced savings account. If you look at the percentage that's actually going towards your principal, in your case, you guys were aggressively saving, but also now you've got this place to host your events. And instead of going out to dinner, maybe you have people over and they always want to bring something. And really, you'll find that your other expenses come down that you would have otherwise gone out and spent all this money. No, we've got a housing payment that we need to plan for, and you end up spending less. So in the end, all of that money that you put out to other people is now going in your own pocket in the form of equity. So, this is all stuff we talk about, right?
Definitely.
Did that help you?
Definitely. Tremendously. Like I said, without your help and everybody's help, it would have not been possible. We were so hesitant with everything that just having a good team just kind of gives you that confidence that, as long as you're doing the right things, you should be able to move forward.
Yeah, I'd once again like to reiterate the math. $120.95. And you guys bought a $275,000 home. I think the team did a good job. Now, wait, I have to do that disclaimer. How to buy a home does not guarantee the same results for everybody who comes in. Talk to us about, because you guys came in frugal, and I love that. And so there was a lot of decision making you needed to make with a lending team. So once you got past that mental hurdle, how did it work with you and Max going out to look at homes? Did you have an area that you were familiar with?
Yeah, so we actually ended up buying in basically the same neighborhood that we were renting in. And that's exactly what we wanted. We lived like 5 minutes away from where we previously lived. And it's just, we toured a lot of houses, and this was the only one in this neighborhood that just turned out to be the right one.
Now, Max, when you're working with someone who says, this is the neighborhood I want to live in, what do you do for them? Do you try to show them other neighborhoods as well, just so that they're comfortable?
Yeah, Chloe and Eduardo were pretty good at giving multiple examples of neighborhoods. But in Omaha, there are, well, in all cities, there's like a type of neighborhood that we have 6 or 7 of. So there's a neighborhood that they mentioned, and there's only one listing in that neighborhood. We would then show them houses in neighborhoods. But like we also looked at multiple houses in a neighborhood that was not close to where you guys ended up.
What were the priorities for you guys when you were looking at neighborhoods, Chloe and Eduardo?
The main one was we really wanted to be in the neighborhood that we are in, just because I work really close to here. So I didn't want to have a really long commute. Right now, my commute is like 5 minutes. It's like so great. And I just really didn't want to give that up. And then we also just knew this neighborhood. This is kind of where we had been. It's a really nice area of town.
All the places we go eat, just we're familiar with the area. We were comfortable. And I would say it's more like you get accustomed to things, right?
Yes.
Accustomed to the same routes. You take the same roads. We didn't want to change any of that. We were...
The grocery stores, the gas stations, all those things.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
What were the things that were the requirements for the home? Did you guys have anything like? Did you say like, yeah? What did you guys have to have? The must-haves.
Well, we really wanted a garage, and like an attached garage was something that we were really hopeful that we could get. Other than like bedroom
Backyard.
requirements, we really wanted a backyard. Yeah. We have 2 dogs. So that was kind of one of the main reasons, like, we really wanted a house, is so they could have a place to run. We wouldn't have to go up and down multiple flights of stairs to take them out every day, multiple times a day.
Isn't that crazy? $275,000 purchase, and the pooches are the main reason of what you buy.
It happens so often, right,
Always.
Max?
Always.
These are our children.
Max, when you get people's must-haves, and they give you a neighborhood, were you able to, like, even before you went to look at homes, because you've sold in that particular area, be able to like let them know, okay, this neighborhood we can do, this neighborhood you're going to have to compromise X, Y, and Z?
Absolutely. But one thing too is, like, we live 5 minutes away from the neighborhood that they're in, so I'm familiar with the area. But yeah, absolutely, that's something that when we have that list of the must-haves and then kind of wants and then things you could do without, you can really narrow it down without even walking through our house.
How did the house that ended up being the winner, how did it go for you, Max? Was it a situation where there were multiple offers? Had the home been on the market for a while? Because, we've got different things that we read between the lines. When they said, we like this one, how was it set up for writing the offer?
This one was unique due to the fact that it was freshly on the market, and it was a flip from an agent who respected our team before we even showed up, kind of deal. So that's
your reputation preceded you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely, yeah, and that's always helpful, especially if there's another offer coming in, and they basically were sold on Chloe and Eduardo before other people walked through the house, which was great.
Now, was that something that you did by explaining them to them, Chloe and Eduardo? Did you suck up to these people at an open house? How did this work?
We never met them. No, I haven't had any interaction with them. So it's all Max.
So Max, you sold to them, and the flippers were, that's unique. The flippers were interested.
He was a realtor who was an investor who flipped through that. Yeah. So
realtors have a soft spot for you first timers.
Yeah. And through real estate, we knew the person, and I think people, especially investors and people who are realtors, want it to be a smooth and clean deal, and so they know that we're not people who mess around with that, and we write clean offers, and aren't going to be messy. So.
It's part of the reason why the Unicorn Network is so important to me, because the reputation, who you choose to represent you, a lot of times can put you over the top. Like Chloe and Eduardo were saying at the beginning, picking the team. People think it's just about everything going smooth and, only paying $120 to buy a house. That's pretty exciting. All that stuff. But you got your foot in the door because we got you with a team that has a good reputation. Now, I know when the offer comes in that Kelly and her team do stuff. Kelly, tell us what happens immediately for you when you find out that your buyers have an offer in.
Well, Max and I and his real estate team have dialogue that ahead of time that, we're going to be writing an offer. So I like to get with Eduardo and Chloe and show them some numbers, make sure they understand what they're getting into as we're prepping to write this offer. That helps empower them to decide how high or low they want to go to stay within their comfort level, but also comfortably uncomfortable, right? But also once that offer is submitted, as soon as humanly possible, I am dialing the listing agent, just letting them know we've already put Chloe and Eduardo through underwriting. So them as a credit risk is off the table. They're already fully approved. So going in, it's a lot less risk when we put our buyers through the underwriting process. I also talk about timelines, how quickly we can turn around the appraisal. Of course, we want to make sure that Chloe and Eduardo are shopping insurance as soon as humanly possible as well, because insurance is going through its own metamorphosis. So the premiums could be radically different. So that's dialogue we're having while negotiating this offer. So just picking up the phone right away leaving a message. Because I'm a nationwide lender, sometimes that can create some hesitation. So I always want to, pull that elephant out from under the rug out the gate and just say, I've been lending nationwide since 1999. Here's my cell phone. Call me, text me. I build rapport with the listing agent so that they're not fearful that I'm some fly-by-night online lender. And of course, Max and his team reiterate that when they're writing the offer, and inviting the listing agent to reach out to me, but I reach out to them before they have a chance. And not only that, a lot of times agents don't pick up the phone when they don't know the number. I mean, don't we all?
Sure.
Screen our calls. So I'll quickly send them a text. And if we have multiple offers coming in, I will actually record a video and text them the video and then put the written text of everything I said in the video. Like whatever consumption tool they want to use, I give it to them. And so there's virtually no hesitation in listening to one of those messages. Or consuming them.
If a listing agent is in a situation where they're having multiple offers, Kelly will call, understanding they might not pick up. And, we can frame it like, hey, I'm texting you because I know you're busy. You have an awesome new house. You probably have a bunch of different offers on it. So having those advocates pushing for you to get that information in is such a gigantic part. And then for you guys knowing that if there was going to be a counteroffer, you were okay with the new price. So where were you guys on the comfort level with the price? Is $275 above what you had originally talked about a month ago or below?
It was below.
Of course it was, because you're frugal.
It was below.
So you've been making the payments for a few months. How's it been?
Kelly told us we could afford it, and she was right. I mean, we were just really scared about, biting the bullet and doing it, but it's been totally fine. So
I've been trying to add a couple extra payments as well. Help on that interest rate.
Yeah, we've been making extra payments every month.
Every month so far.
Well, and the great thing about having the relationship like we've got with our little group of people here is that if in 6 months something crazy happens with the market or the economy, you have someone you can call because we're going to pick up. Which brings me to the next story I want to hear about, because I heard that during the inspection that Max and Kelly were actually talking about you guys during the inspection. So who wants to tell the story? What happened?
They were talking to Kelly.
Oh, they were talking to Kelly. Oh, that's what it was. So you guys were talking to Kelly during the home inspection because the 30 days is a tornado and you're doing 15 things at once. So you were at the home inspection.
But yeah, we were at the home inspection with Max, and then Kelly gave us a call while we were there.
Just running the numbers for you frugal people?
I don't remember what we were talking about, but it was, we were in it, and there were no guards up. We were all just openly communicating. And if, we'll text each other, we'll call each other, whatever it may be. Sometimes homies will send me a question via text, and it requires a little bit of dialogue back and forth. I'm not going to assume I understand what you mean and try to answer something if there could be multiple answers. So I'm always looking for that clarity so that you have that clarity and confidence on the other end. I don't recall if that's exactly what it was. I need to look back on my text messages now. But
we were in the garage. Yeah, and you were on speakerphone, and I even lowered my voice because I was trying to trick you. I said, yeah, "It's your favorite person in the world." And you said, "Is that Max?" It's like, good answer. Good answer.
What were we talking? What was I calling you about, Chloe? I think it was about the NEFA loan for the down payment assistance. I think you were looking into a few different options for us, and I think you were telling us the results of that.
I just got stats. There are 70 new down payment assistance programs that came up in the third quarter of 2025, bringing the total to 2,624 down payment assistance programs. 2,000 counties have 10 or more down payment assistance programs. 2,000. So I'm sure Omaha is one of those. It's not a small place, but you guys ended up Kelly, right? It was 5% down. Did you go with the what is it, NEPA?
Yeah, the NEPA program offered 5% down payment assistance.
Wow.
Yep. So it covered their down payment and a portion of their closing costs. And Max did such a great job negotiating in the contract. He aimed high and asked for 3%, got 1.5%, which covered literally nearly every nickel that needed to come out of your pocket to make this deal come together. It was pretty awesome.
They got a 5% down payment program, but Kelly, you got them a 3% down payment loan, right?
No, so it was a 5% down payment assistance that covered the down payment,
which was only 3%.
Correct.
Yes.
And then 2% went towards their closing costs, and then Max negotiated the other 1.5% in the contract.
So I tell people in the last lease ever, start with 5% for your down payment and 3% for your closing costs for 8% total. But there's a good chance that you can use a 3% down payment when what we call a conventional loan. So right now there are people driving that are just like throwing things at their radio and their speakers and their phone because of all this math. But it's important, gang. You guys got 6.5% credit back to you. And so you must have done have you had like a frugal party yet? Have you like gone out and spent money at your favorite places there in Omaha, or are you, what are you guys doing for the holidays? Are you staying there? Are you having people over? What's happening?
Our way of just going out and having fun is we decided to furnish our place. So we're like, hey, we're going to get our furniture, get our stuff. But yeah, I mean, we actually came back from our wedding, and that's why we were also hesitant. So, I mean, we were just back from a nice trip.
Yes.
And then bought a house.
Yeah. So to be clear, we got married right at the end of March. So
and you reached out to me in May.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and so that was one of the like biggest things we were worried about is the down payment and everything, because we didn't have as much saved as we usually did because we had just gotten married and just went on a trip for our wedding. And so then we came back and we were like, you know, how do we were like, we want to buy a house, but like, how do we come up with the money right now for the down payment? And Kelly was so helpful with that, with finding us that down payment assistance.
So yeah, we haven't done any trips yet, but for the holidays, probably gonna go to my parents' house. They live about 2 hours from us, and that's usually what we do. We tried to host it here, but due to work on their end,
maybe next year we'll get
maybe next year or Christmas. I mean, we still have holidays coming up. It's holiday season.
I did an interview last month with a couple that they're real DIY people, and they bought kind of a fixer-upper. And so when their friends call them on Friday and Saturday night, they go, "What are you guys doing?" They say, "Enjoying our mortgage." And they sit home and they fix stuff. We've had people that once they hear stories like yours, they'll call us in the middle of a pregnancy while they're planning a wedding because they go, "Really, dude?" And they think they're just going to start planning, and then they end up doing 2 or 3 of these major life moments at once. Kelly, what do you do when someone calls and says, "I've got this big thing happening right now," and you're in the position where you want to help them at least look at the options?
Yes. So with Chloe and Eddie, we caught them after they spent all that money. But if I could catch them before they spend all that money, I ask a lot of questions to help them realize what their priorities are. You know, has this been a dream your whole life? Have you, dreamt of yourself walking down the aisle? Because that has value. Those are memories. We don't want to rob those. But if people are like, well, yeah, but buying a house has also been a dream. So there's just a lot of questions that we allow people to answer for themselves.
For themselves.
It's really important for you guys to honor your priorities, whatever that may be. And, can we afford it was a big question. And Just because you can doesn't mean you should, but you could. And ultimately, it's no problem. You're making extra payments. But giving people the time and space to make that decision and weigh their priorities, it's very, very common that when you're in the mode of making big decisions, you make more big decisions because you get a little bit more comfortable making those big decisions. So you make a big decision, you get married. You make a big decision, you go on a great trip. You come back, you make a big decision, you buy a house. You've got dogs. I mean, who knows what's next?
Chloe, you had a job change, right?
Yeah, so it was kind of a million big life changes in 1 year. Like, we got married.
The car. Your car broke down.
So my car broke down. We had to buy a new car. Then and that was in like January, February. Then we got married at the end of March.
By the dog.
Then, well, no, I changed my job first. So then in April, I was recruited by a company, and they wanted me to start somewhere new. So I started a new job in near the end of April. Then we reached out to you guys to buy a house. And then we made the decision to get a second dog. And then we bought a house, and now we're here.
Kelly, when they came to you in the middle of, you guys did like 5 years worth of stuff in 6 months. What did the job change have to do, or how did the job change affect their loan?
So what was brilliant was Chloe had been in the industry. So, and it was an upward move, right, Chloe?
Yes.
Wasn't it? Yeah. So she made additional compensation in the new job. So it really just helped. The fact that they had just bought a car, I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. Because that's, whatever, $300, $400 a month less you can afford for a home. But you need a car. You got to get around. So, this stuff comes into play. And so I love that you said all of that, Chloe, because it kind of circles back to what I said. Once you make one big decision, it's a lot easier to make multiple big decisions. And it's very, very common that people are doing all this stuff. Throw a pregnancy in there too. That happens a lot.
What's so exciting about that is understanding that testing the waters. If Kelly had her druthers and you had talked to her in a year ago, but she probably would have at least talked to you about the car purchase. But I think the fact that you had a new car payment, $300, possibly taking off, $50,000 off your loan approval, showed all the more that you could afford it. And you were there. Kelly, you also mentioned earlier that when you talked to the listing agent, they were completely underwritten and fully approved. Explain to the listener or the viewer on YouTube who has never heard the term underwriter before. What's the difference between what you do with a first-time home buyer before they look at a house and what, unfortunately, a lot of other lenders or people who just don't know?
Yeah, so the discovery call is the first thing we do with homies. It is to learn a little bit more about your goals. When it makes sense, and it usually does, we act like you're going to buy a house this weekend or next weekend. So we either complete the application over the phone, or I send you a link to complete the application electronically. You get all your documents uploaded, pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements, offer letter for the new job, whatever that may be. And most lenders just stop there, pull credit, and don't even look at the documents in the file. Maybe they'll look at the documents you uploaded. Maybe they won't. They'll let whatever you put in the application rest, run it through an electronic underwriting, like an AI, an electronic underwriting that weighs the pros and cons, and spit out a letter without looking at anything. They don't even require their clients to upload things. And, income is complicated, especially if there's incentive compensation or overtime or anything outside of a guaranteed number of hours at an hourly rate. All of that is what we call variable income, and that needs to be analyzed. And most consumers, most home buyers, homies don't know. They just put in the total W-2 amount that they earned last year, which included a lot of overtime, but maybe that overtime hadn't been received for 2 years, and we can't use it if you don't have 2 years, and we have to use an average. for 2 years. So it's most lenders just stop at whatever you put in the system, give you a pre-approval and say, go find a house. And then they'll let you pay for inspections. Max out there writing a contract, negotiating a great deal, getting excited to get you into this home. If he doesn't know the lender doesn't start working on it until they get the contract from Max. After you've fallen in love with it, you're excited. Max is lining up inspectors to come and look at the property. You're doling out cash to pay for these inspections. Then all of a sudden the lender calls you and says, hey, pay for an appraisal and let's get that ordered. So now you're paying for inspections, you're paying for appraisals, and then they look at your documentation and say, oh, crap, use my language.
The pre-qualification letter and the pre-approval is one of the worst misnomers in real estate. If you call a guy and you tell him numbers and then that person says you're pre-qualified, you assume that means you can buy a house. But they literally haven't done 1/10 of what they need to do. That's where that team is so important. And, with this whole team, we do everything we can ahead of time, including personal conversations about your goals and where your comfort level is in the monthly payment, which we discussed multiple times here. That way, when we write an offer, there's no surprises.
We don't just stop at looking at the documentation before we issue our pre-approval. We certainly release them out to get, it's their ticket to shop. A pre-approval letter is a ticket to shop. Get out there. But we go one step further and we put all the pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements in front of an underwriter. An underwriter is somebody who looks at all the documentation and makes sure we haven't missed anything. As salespeople, we're running quick. We're guiding you through the process. There is a lot of dotting of I's and crossing of T's. And depending on which investor we choose, in this case, it was NIFA that had the down payment assistance program. They have special criteria that may be slightly different than our standard conventional financing, just what we call an overlay. So the underwriter steps in and makes sure we're meeting all of the criteria of the investor in which we've placed your loan. So there's no surprises. So when you go to write your offer, you're golden. Now, we had you approved through underwriting under a different program. We found a better program after you were under contract that offered a lower payment and more money, and we took it.
Okay, Kelly, this is something that I've always wanted to tell people about. Let's break that down for people who are brand new to buying a home. So I called you. You asked me to upload all these documents. I uploaded the documents. But then when I buy a house, you're telling me you have to run it by other people before I get a loan?
Yes, sir. I look at them. I look at the documents and make sure that the income is what you said it was, because everybody thinks they make a different amount. Nobody knows how much money they make. Believe it or not, they think they do.
Yep.
They look at the W-2 at the end of the year. A lot of people, some people know exactly how much money they make, but very few people know. So when we get the documentation, what they tell me verbally could be very different than what's on the paper. I look at it, my loan partner looks at it, and then we send it to an underwriter.
So these people running around shopping for the lowest interest rate they can get, they send the stuff to the people, but those people who take all their initial documents, they're not giving them the money. You have to go and send it to somebody else.
Yes. So the way mortgage banking works is you come to us, we have a big, fat, multi-million-dollar line of credit. And as long as we feel like we're going to be able to sell your loan on the secondary market, I'll get to that in a minute, we're going to advance you those funds and say, okay, congratulations, move in. And then we take your loan and bundle it with 10, 20, 30 other loans just like yours at the same interest rate and sell them as what's called a mortgage-backed security. It's bundled. 20, 30 loans, just like yours at the same interest rate. We sell them to an investor as a mortgage-backed security. They buy that note. That frees up our line of credit to do it again, over and over and over again, to lend. So that mortgage-backed security goes to institutional investors who make them available for people like you and I to buy in our 401ks. So when you make contributions to your 401k or your IRA and you buy funds with your investment advisor, a lot of those have mortgage-backed securities in them, very high quality, a little lower yielding, but really solid mortgage-backed securities. They're investments that we turn around and buy. We're really just kind of.
Which is why when we go into the weeds and all this, when we try to explain this to people, if you're just shopping online and you're waiting to find the right person on the phone who gives you the right interest rate, that's just the beginning of this process. If you're trying to figure out how all that works, well, then you need to get with the right team who's going to give you all the right information. I was just going to say, Max, as someone who was 23 years old who bought a house, when they were concerned that, this was going to be too much for them, how did your own personal experience play into it?
That's a great question. I think my comfort level and the fact that I was able to become comfortable with going through with it was because I had my parents with me, who are realtors of 25 years. So I had somebody who would walk me through that I trusted, that said, you can do this. Like, it's not a stupid idea. We would tell you if it was. And that's kind of what I think Kelly has done for Chloe and Eduardo. And I think that's what we were able to do when we were looking at each house, is like, you could spend more than this if you wanted to, but we don't have to. I mean, this is a perfect house for you. So you don't have to be worried, because we could actually look at a house that's more expensive.
Chloe and Eddie, did you guys ever feel pressured?
No.
Not at all. Not at all. It was really kind of what I was saying at the beginning. I would have felt more pressure without the team, right? Having the team gave me the, I would say, stress-free, right, of being able to go to work, not have to stress while I'm at work about, what am I going to do when I get home with regards to the house, right? Where are we going to go? What's the next step? I was able to focus on my job, focus on my relationship, focus on things that I feel like without a good team, those are things that you have to focus on yourself. So, yeah.
I couldn't ask for anything better. I mean, the whole reason we do this is to help people be stress-free. A lot of times we have to make sure everyone has the information first. And that's why thank you so much for coming on and sharing. I'll go back to the inspection. Was there anything in the inspection? Everyone always asks me about that.
It was actually, I mean, I don't know anything about inspections, but from what I heard from the inspector, he came with a few pages. He said, usually when I do an inspection, I have 2 to 3 times the amount of pages. So you guys are doing well, structural, which was our biggest concern, clean on that. So, but overall, the inspector, on my opinion, I mean, first time, like I said, I don't know what I don't know. I think he did a great job walking us through everything there. Max was there with us too during the inspection, and he was also clarifying after the inspector left. We had a couple other questions. Max was also helping us with those. And I mean, things where he's like, hey, what should I do this? Like, what are some things that I need to prioritize from the inspection list? Going over those, like, hey, you should prioritize doing this, doing that. These can wait a little bit longer into, maybe a year in or year 1 or year 2 into the house. Things like that.
Yeah, the inspection becomes your to-do list.
Exactly.
If you figure out that you're willing to accept some of these things because it's going to be a small amount, then it just becomes your to-do list. Max, talk to us about what you're looking for in a flip to make sure there are no red flags. What happened in this property that you didn't see red flags?
First of all, the inspection was probably my favorite part of my experience with Chloe and Eduardo. It was like, just because of the fact that I had gone through the same thing and knew how I was feeling when I did. You guys probably hated the experience, but I had a great time. Like, after the inspector left, looking through each item, and like, we walked around the entire house and said, here's this. This is what this looks like. Here's what radon is for you California people. Like, aghast. That like, we have to make sure is mediated here in Nebraska. And also, even before the inspector walked through the door, I was able to tell them it's going to look really scary. Like, there's going to be, their job is to find all of the tiny, tiny issues. Our job then is to look at those things, find what's safety issues, which is number one, and then things that you can negotiate or you're okay with living with. And those things are, like you said, David, the things that you add to your to-do list. And then, like, we were even able to go through it and kind of prioritize the to-do list after things that we weren't going to ask for. So,
and then Chloe said, can we push that back 3 or 4 months and can we get the furniture I want, right?
We still don't have furniture. It keeps getting pushed.
Oh yeah, that's been honestly the biggest pain since we got the house is we tried to buy furniture and then the furniture store keeps delaying the furniture. So we're sitting in our living area, dining area, and it's completely empty still.
We can hear that.
I can hear it too. I know, me too,
Echo.
Kelly. I was like, wow, it's pretty echoey in there. You guys got a big old I was like, Max helped you guys get a big house. That's cool.
No, it's just we have no furniture. We're hopeful that the furniture will arrive Friday.
Fingers crossed.
Awesome.
You know what's so fun? I just got to say, like, you're going to look back at these moments where you're sitting on like folding chairs or something with no furniture, and they're going to be some of the best times of your life. It's really when life is simple, and you just did a big thing. You bought a stinking house, man. You own land. You're a landowner. It's a big deal, you know, and you're sitting on folding chairs, and that's great. I love that.
I would say when it hit that we bought the house was the first week when we had, it was ours, right? We were in, no furniture, nothing. I was laying down on the floor. We were cleaning. I was tired. I was just laying down. And then that's when it hit. And I was like, man, this is ours. That was a great feeling. Since then, I've just been so happy. It's like, man, it's unbelievable.
You have I hear from so many different people the moment on the floor. For some, that's the thing. They're cleaning, they're putting stuff away, they're doing whatever, and when you're laying there tired and sweaty, and all of a sudden you're like, it's the grounding of it. You know what I mean? It's like, this is mine.
Yeah.
So, Max, you talked about the fact that using the inspection as your punch list, your to-do list, and also something that you warn people, first-time homebuyers, your inspection is going to scare the poop out of you. We know that. The inspection is going to be scary, first-time homebuyers. Kelly, what are some of the things that on the lending side, you let first-time homebuyers kind of give them a heads up, letting them know about the appraisal, letting them know the GFE is going to scare them, all that stuff?
Well, we try to avoid that scare in the discovery call or the follow-up discovery call by reviewing a worksheet that isn't anything official. It's just numbers. We explain all of the categories of fees so they know what they're paying for. And then the mystery's gone. Now, all of a sudden, you know how much your closing costs are going to be, and there's no fear of the unknown. We know they can vary a little bit, but also insurance. One of the things I say out the gate is get that insurance quote as soon as possible. Talk to Max and get a referral to a local person, or start with your auto insurance and ask for a multi-policy discount. These are just little tips and tricks that aren't always shared that can really save you, $150, $250 a year. I mean, that could buy you an ottoman.
Yes, it can.
We talk about the appraisal. We talk about what fees are going to be due up front. We talk about the appraisal and the inspections, and that those are out of pocket. We talk about earnest money deposit. I say I'm stepping on my Max toes now. He's going to tell you how much that should be. But usually it's anywhere between 1% to 3% of the purchase price. I stand out of the way in that space. Just be prepared to have that money liquid and write that check. And they were ready to go. They had the money all ready to go, even after the wedding and the car and the new job.
Having the team that gives you these preliminary discussions about the inspection, about all of these financial things, sets you up so that there are going to be little surprises here and there, but the big ones don't freak you out. Chloe and Eddie, is there anything I missed about the process that you wanted to share with the world?
My biggest piece of advice, obviously, get a good team. And second is just, if you are wanting to buy a house, you have to pay to live somewhere. Might as well buy your own home, invest in yourself. At the end of the day, it's yours, and it's tough, but the sooner you do it, the better it is. And I don't know, that's kind of my advice there.
I love that. I think that, I never want to be the person that says, do it, it's easy. I will definitely be the person who says, I think most people haven't been told how many options are available to them. And when you meet with this team, Max and Kelly, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys coming on and giving the unicorn inside information. Chloe and Eddie, and tell the dogs I said hi. I'm going to come by and bring them a treat next time I'm on Omaha. And thank you guys so much for being on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for your invitation.